Hello, you probably have heard of Super Mario World 2 Yoshi's Island, but did you know a prototype version of the game has just been found? So today I'm going to talk about the difference between the prototype and the final version, what changed and what went unused. First off is the menu. As you can see, the background of the menu is actually different from what is in the final game, as well as some icons for the levels. And the menu actually uses an early version of the training course music instead of the music used in the final game. Have a listen. Upon entering a level, we can already see some very big changes. There's an entire unused ad, which shows the amount of lives the player has, the amount of coins the player has, the amount of flowers the player has, a meter and a timer. Now, the timer is for Baby Mario when Yoshi gets hit by an enemy, but the meter is actually for eggs. So eggs originally had to be charged before you could launch them at high speed. Now, as you might have noticed, this level isn't in the final game. It's the same for basically every level in this build. This particular level has this weird colorful spring that once Yoshi steps on it, it spits out some eggs to Yoshi to collect. Yoshi can actually eat the yellow rocks, while in the final game you can only destroy them eating them with an egg. The stars that gives Yoshi extra time for pick up Baby Mario when hit aren't stars in this build, but they're actually walking clocks. When Yoshi gets damaged, the animation for Mario is actually different. Instead of flying with the bubbles and crying, here it will just crawl in the ground. When finishing a level, we can see that there's a little bit of difference in the end of the actual level. The ring, when you enter for finishing the level, is red instead of white. And there's a text on the ground saying goal. The animation when completing the level is the same, but the menu, the high score menu, is actually different. Here there's 40 flowers instead of the 6. There aren't red coins in this build, but there are some 2 unused points, which are the bit points and the miss points. Now, I'm guessing the bit points are for when you hit an enemy with an egg, but about the miss point I don't have any idea. The music is also slightly different from the final game. Have a listen. watermelon sprite in this build is actually very different from what it is in the final game. In this build, the watermelon almost looks like a pear rather than a watermelon. The mechanics are the same, but the only thing that changes is the sprite of the fruit. For some weird reason, in this build, Yoshi can actually eat a piranha plant when it's defeated. Also, the piranha plants will have Yoshi in its mouth for very much longer than what it is in the final game. The flowers that give eggs will actually hold the eggs instead of spitting them everywhere like in the final build. When the Baby Mario timer goes under 10, the music will actually speed up instead of the final game that has a sound that... However, the music will still keep speeding up even if you collect Baby Mario, and in this build, when actually having Baby Mario on, if you have the timer under 10, the timer will not regenerate itself. The music that plays when the player is down is slightly different in this build. Have a listen. Speaking of music, the really only music that plays while in game is actually the overworld theme, which that you, if you don't know what it is the song that I'm playing right now in the background. So in this build there is no... Having eggs from enemies is actually very different. Instead of eating the enemy and then converting it to an egg, you actually have to jump on them to convert to an egg, which doesn't really make sense, to be honest. When the Mario timer goes to 0, the guys that go and pick up Mario actually are very different from the final game. In this build, they look a lot like the Shy Guys, but in the final game, they look a lot more like Kamek. There are two enemies that I'm pretty sure aren't in the final game. There are these weird mud-like enemies that can be defeated, but they won't turn into an egg. If eaten and spitted out, they act like those enemies found in the level Touch Fuzzy Get Dizzy in the final game. There's also this weird glitched Yoshi sprite, which I don't know what it does, just know it's there and I think it's an enemy, not sure. And about glitched stuff, look at this lava, very nice. And with that, this video is over. However, just to let you know that I actually didn't play all the levels in this prototype build. So that means if there are any other unused or different bits from the final build, I will probably bring them in a new video. And with that being said, I will see you in the next video. Take care.